let's draw a super cute Bull Terrier. So for this drawing, I'm using a fine liner, an eraser and a pencil, and I'm going to colour in with watercolour pencils, but you can use whatever you like for this to colour in. So first I work out where the subject fits on the page. So I'm looking at the negative space, so that's the space around the outside of the subject. And I'm just going to start plotting out where I think he's going to fit, just so it's in perspective and the right size. So I'm just going to start putting in some guidelines. So I'm starting with the doona, the blanket down the bottom, and I'm just looking at how far away things sit and how close they are to the edge. So I'm just going to plot out his ears and where I think the points of his ears go, his shoulders, the side of his face, and I'm comparing it, my drawing at all times, to the photo. So I go back and forwards to the photo and just putting little guidelines in where I think everything fits. We always rub out these later, so if you don't like it straight away, don't stress, we can always change it. And I constantly change drawings until I get how I like it. The main feature of a Bull Terrier obviously is their long face, so his face takes up most of the space on this drawing. So I'm just doing a little bit of, estimating and measuring just to work out where the end of his nose goes in comparison to the top of his head. So it does take up over a third of the piece of paper, and the top of his head's on a little bit of an angle, so I've just put that line on an angle up the top to remind myself that it's not quite straight in this photo. Now that we've plotted out all of our little guidelines, we're going to look at the shapes that we can see. So obviously his face is like an oval shape and upside down egg shape. So I'm just going to start lightly putting in the shapes that I can see in the photo. So I've made his face very much an egg, upside down egg shape, and then I'm going to start working on his ears. So this is only initial sketches, we can always change this later, and I'm just starting to look in more detail at the different lines and the directions that they're going for this, and then I'm going to refine it. So I noticed that around the bottom of his nose it's rounder, and then it goes in at his cheek and then comes back out again. So I'm just going to start sketching over the top the outline in more detail. I'll also start to add details like the line where the brown fur and the white fur meet, because that can really help put things in the right place. So once you start adding those wiggly lines for his fur and around his face, that will help to put everything in the right spot. So I'm constantly looking and changing. I'm making his nose a little bit longer. It might actually be a bit too long, which might give him a bit of a cartoony look, but that's okay. Bull Terriers have got long faces. I'm always changing the shapes of lines as I look back and forwards to the photo and back to the drawing. If you're getting too many sketch lines, rub them out. And a little special trick, instead of using your hand like I did then, use a feather, because that will stop you from smudging your work. So when you're erasing and you've got all the rubber left on your page, use a feather, flick it off, and then you won't smudge all of your hard work. So rub out any lines that are distracting you and you're keeping the good lines that you want to save. And then we're just going to keep going like this, adding the lines on his face for his fur, and then we're going to get onto the eyes and his nose. So on Buster, he's got these really cute little bumps where the black is on the top of his nose, so it's not a perfectly straight line. That's what makes it look like a love heart. So make sure when you're drawing, it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but you're going to make the line along the top of his nose bumpy where the black goes. next let's put his brown fur around his eyes, like his eye mask, I guess. This will really help us put the eyes in the right spot when we get to that. So he's got the white line that goes up the middle, and he's got the two brown bits that wrap around, and just note how the line curves around the side of his face, which is going to help it make look like it's 3D. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. A good thing to remember is that the fur lines are not straight lines, so I've made them a little bit messy and zigzaggy on purpose. All right, so Bull Terrier eyes are very small, and they've got quite sharp, I guess the direction of the lines are quite sharp, especially at the bottom, which makes them look like they're going back around the side of the head. So it's pretty much a straight line in the middle of the face, and then it curves up into a point. And don't forget a little shine dot on the eye. So make sure you leave a little bit of white in there, because that's going to give it a little bit more life. And don't forget a little flick for the eyelid on the top, because Bull Terriers always have, all dogs have like a little eyelid, which the eyelashes stick out at the side. So make sure you do that little flick at the top. As far as the reflection dot goes, the little white dot, make sure it's on the same side of both eyes. So don't do one in the middle and then one on the side, because they might look cross-eyed. So make sure your reflection dot's on the same spot. And then you can colour in the inside of the eye, just leaving the white reflection white. And that would just really helps with giving your drawing a little bit more personality. Going to give the ears a little bit more attention now, and just try and get the bit more detail and the shape correct, because they do kind of flick out at the bottom. So make sure you get those extra bumps in and add as much detail as you can see me adding for the ears. And I just like to put that top line in so you can tell that the inside's a bit like a hole, so we can colour that in to make it look like it's like a darker space within the ear. So once you get it how you like it, I do like to break up the background a little bit, just to add a little bit more, I guess, interest in the picture. So I'm just going to put that pillow line behind his head, and then I can have 3 different colours for my background when I get to colouring it in. So now that I've got everything where I like it, I'm going to use my fine liner pen. You could also use a Sharpie for this, especially if you're going to paint it with watercolour paints. I'm using fine liner, and I'm just going to outline all the sketch lines that I've done and that I'm happy with. So now that it's all outlined, I've rubbed out all of the leftover pencil lines, and I'm just adding some cute little hair dots around his nose. Alright, so now you're finished. Now it's time to think about colouring in. So you can use whatever you like for colouring. You could use coloured pencils, you could use textures, you could use watercolour pencils like I am, you can use watercolour paints. If you're painting, you need to outline using a permanent texture like a Sharpie, not a fine liner, because they're not waterproof. So get your colours ready and let's go. I hope you enjoyed learning how to draw a really cute Bull Terrier.